Hey there, it's Laura here of MakingCardsIsSun.com and welcome to another Saturday Stamp Day carding video. In this week's video, I'll be making a cute ice cream card with the served up stamp set from Create a Smile Stamps. So I'm going to start out by picking my stamp for this card. So I'm using the ice cream card with the little hippo, and then I'm going to position that with my Misty tool. And as you can see, I was still wearing my PJs. I actually filmed this after breakfast. So I'm going to ink up my stamp with Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And then I'm going to stamp it onto my Copic friendly cardstock with my Misty tool. So I'm using the mini Misty, but you can also use the original one or just an acrylic block. It's really up to you. Then I'm going to stamp some ice cream and a cupcake for my little ice cream cart. And I just mixed it up and I just chose some of the little ice creams and the cupcake from the stamp set. So I'm just stamping these randomly, so in no particular order. And then I'm going to Copic color all of these images. So I'm going to use RV02 first to add my pink shading, and then I'm blending that out with the RV0000. So I used these same two colors for all of the pink details on this card. So as you can see, I'm doing the exact same thing for the ice cream over there. Then I'm going to color some lemon flavored ice cream, which is my favorite in real life. I just really love lemon sorbet. It's delicious. So I'm doing that with the Y04 color for some shading, and then I'm blending that out with the Y000. And then I'm going back in with that Y04 just to add a tiny little bit more shading. Then for the chocolate, I'm using E27 and E57. And I'm just doing the same technique like I did before. Then I'm going to add some mint color details to this card, and I'm doing that with the BG11 to add some shading to these bowls of my ice cream. And then I'm blending that out with the BG10 color. So these are probably my two most used Copic markers just because I love mint, and the BG11 is just such a luscious color. I absolutely love it. Next, I'm going to color some, I'm going to add some purple to this stamped image, and I'm using the BV00 marker to add my shading, and then I am blending that out with the BV0000 marker. So it's a super light one, but these two markers work really well together. I did go back in with the BV00 just to add a little bit more shading. Then I'm going back in with that mint, so I wanted everything to coordinate, so I'm using some more mint for this ice cream card. So I'm using the BG11 marker, and then I'm blending that out with the BG10, and then I'm going back in with the BG11 to add some more shading. Then I'm going to mix that mint with a little bit of yellow because I think that these two colors look really nice together. So first I'm using the Y04 to add my shading, and then I'm using the Y000 to add my, or to blend that dark color out. So next I'm adding a little bit more purple to this card because I want all my colors to match. So I'm going back in with some purple. I'm using the same purple combination like I did before. And I also wanted to mention that this technique of Copic coloring is really easy because I only use two markers. So you don't really need a lot of Copic markers to add some simple but nice shading. Then I'm coloring my hippo. I'm using the N3 marker to add my first layer of shading. So I'm adding my first lines of shading, and then I am blending that dark color out with a lighter tone of gray. So I'm using the N2 for that, and I'm kind of flicking my brush to create some nice shading. And then when I did that, I'm going to move on to my lightest color, which is NO, and I just used that to blend everything together. And then I repeated these 3 steps just and I repeated that actually until I was happy with the results. So I think I repeated that step about 2 or 3 times. So then for the hat, I am using RV11 and RV02. RV02 and RV0000. And then finally, I wanted some yellow shading for my ice cream cart. So I'm using the Y000 marker for that, and I'm blending that out with my colorless blender to create some really subtle yellow shading. So after I blended that out with my colorless blender, I went back in with that light yellow marker just to add a little bit more shading. Then I'm going to create my own colored cardstock. I've done this many times in my last videos. This time I'm using the BG11 marker because I wanted to create some really nice mint colored cardstock. And since that ink is a little bit wet, I am using some kitchen flour to make sure that my embossing powder won't stick to my paper. You can also use an embossing buddy or a Martha Stewart powder tool. Then I'm going to stamp my greeting with the Wow Embossing Powder Clear Ultra Slow Drying Ink Pad. And this was the first time that I used it, so I ran out of my Versamark, and then I got the chance to try out this Wow Embossing Powder pad, and I really like it. The ink is super sticky and it worked really great to emboss my sentiments, so I would definitely recommend it. So I sprinkled on some white embossing powder from Wow, and I'm heat setting my greeting with my heat tool. So I cut down my banner a little bit, and now I can easily cut a V-shaped banner out of it with my EK Success scissors. So I wanted to add some extra pink to this card, so I decided to use some pattern paper for that. I'm using the Avriel Sorbet Collection paper pad to adhere some nice pink pattern paper to this card. And I'm using some foam adhesive to adhere my hippo piece to my note card. Here I'm going to add some sparkle to my card, so I'm using my Clear Wink of Stella glitter pen to quickly add some glitter here and there. I used it for my ice creams, and I also added some sparkle to the hippo's hat. And then finally, I'm adding a layer of glossy accents to all of those sparkly pieces, just to make those extra sparklier and glossy. So finally, I'm adhering some clear sequins here and there, and I actually I'm going to combine these with some fun enamel dots that match with the colors that I used on this card. So I used some mint enamel dots, some Create a Smile stamps, and the pink enamel dot is from American Crafts. So that's it for this week's Saturday STEM Day carding video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back next week. See you then.